Disrespect can often trigger strong emotional reactions, but how we choose to respond makes all the difference. The first step in handling disrespect is to shift your state of being. When someone's words or actions provoke you, the natural instinct might be to react defensively or even lash out. However, reacting from a place of heightened emotion often leads to regret or escalates the situation. Instead, it's essential to pause and center yourself. This pause isn't about suppressing your emotions, but about giving yourself the space to respond with intention and clarity. One of the most effective ways to do this is to manage your inner state consciously. When you sense tension building within, take a moment to breathe deeply. Inhale slowly, letting the air fill your lungs completely, then exhale just as slowly. This simple act sends a signal to your nervous system to calm down, helping you regain control over your emotional response. Denzel Washington often teaches that our emotions are energy in motion, and by consciously directing that energy, we can shift from states of frustration or anger to balance and empowerment. Beyond the breath, focusing on gratitude or compassion can further transform your state. It may sound counterintuitive in moments of disrespect, but reminding yourself of something you appreciate or feeling compassion for the other person's struggles can prevent you from being drawn into their negativity. Often, those who are disrespectful are projecting their own frustrations or insecurities. By recognizing this, you create a buffer between their behavior and your well-being. Practicing heart-brain coherence, a technique popularized in Denzel teachings, is another powerful way to regain equilibrium. This involves focusing your attention on your heart center, breathing deeply, and generating feelings of care or appreciation. In this state, your body and mind align, allowing you to approach the situation with clarity rather than emotional reactivity. The recovery and communication process helps you restore balance to the nature of neutral information flow. So you integrate stillness with clarity rather than emotional reactivity. When you take charge of your state of being, you not only respond to disrespect with greater wisdom, but also set the tone for how others perceive and interact with you. Your energy becomes a reflection of calm confidence, which often diffuses negativity. Remember, it's not about controlling the behavior of others, but mastering your own response to it. In doing so, you reclaim your power and demonstrate the strength of your inner peace. When faced with disrespect, it's easy to take it personally. Harsh words, dismissive actions, or unkind gestures can feel like direct attacks on your value. However, it's important to remember that disrespect is often more about the other person than it is about you. Their actions stem from their inner state, frustration, insecurity, or unresolved pain. By internalizing their behavior, you give it power over your emotions and your sense of self. Instead, choosing not to take disrespect personally is an act of liberation and self-awareness. This perspective doesn't mean ignoring the behavior or pretending it didn't happen. It means recognizing that the disrespect reflects the state of the one who delivered it, not your worth. For instance, someone who belittles others may feel powerless in their own life, using criticism as a way to feel in control. By seeing this, you can step out of the emotional whirlwind they may have intended to create. You reclaim your peace by choosing not to let their actions define your mood or self-perception. Another way to detach from taking things personally is to build a strong foundation of self-worth. When you know who you are and value yourself, external negativity loses its grip on you. The opinions or actions of others become less significant because your sense of worth is rooted within, not dictated by the world around you. Denzel Washington often reminds us that our inner world creates our outer reality, in teaching us to rebuild our foundation of self-worth. By focusing on cultivating love and appreciation for yourself, you naturally radiate confidence and resilience, making it easier to brush off disrespect without internalizing it. This approach also opens the door to greater compassion. When you stop viewing disrespect as a personal affront, you create space to see the other person's humanity. It doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but it allows you to understand that they too may be struggling. This understanding doesn't just diffuse conflict, it empowers you to stay anchored in your own values while maintaining a healthy emotional distance. Ultimately, not taking disrespect personally is about protecting your energy and staying aligned with your higher self. When you choose this path, you not only preserve your peace, but also inspire others with your grounded presence and inner strength. When confronted with disrespect, the way we respond can either escalate the situation or diffuse it entirely. The key lies in learning to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. A reaction is immediate, driven by raw emotion and often defensive or confrontational. A response, however, is deliberate, grounded, and guided by a sense of purpose. This distinction can transform how you handle challenging interactions and how others perceive you in moments of tension. Choosing to respond rather than react begins with a moment of mindfulness. When someone disrespects you, it's natural to feel the surge of emotion, anger, frustration, or hurt. But instead of allowing these feelings to dictate your actions, take a breath. Pausing, even for a few seconds, gives you the space to assess the situation objectively. In this pause, ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this interaction? By shifting your focus to the bigger picture, you can align your response with your values rather than your immediate emotional state. Responding thoughtfully doesn't mean being passive or suppressing your feelings. It's about channeling your emotions into words and actions that uphold your dignity and integrity. For instance, if someone speaks to you disrespectfully, you might calmly say, I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. Let's communicate respectfully. This approach asserts your boundaries without mirroring their negative behavior. It sends a clear message that while you respect yourself, you're also willing to address the issue constructively. This practice also ties closely to Denzel Washington's teachings on energy. When you react impulsively, you often lower your energetic state, giving power to the negative emotions triggered by the other person. Responding thoughtfully, on the other hand, allows you to maintain a higher vibration, allows you to maintain a higher state of self-respect and self-control. Over time, this higher state of being can even influence those around you, encouraging them to mirror your composure. It's worth noting that not every instance of disrespect warrants a response. Sometimes the most powerful statement is silence, especially when dealing with people who thrive on conflict. By choosing not to engage, you conserve your energy and demonstrate that their behavior isn't worth your attention. Ultimately, the power to respond thoughtfully lies in your hands. It's a practice that requires patience and self-awareness. Handling disrespect, but it's also a profound way to honor yourself, your inner peace, and navigate this situation in a way that protects your boundaries. Setting boundaries isn't about being confrontational or defensive. It's about clearly communicating what is and isn't acceptable to you. Disrespect often stems from a lack of understanding or disregard for boundaries, and by establishing yours, you send a strong message that you value yourself and won't tolerate behaviors that undermine your well-being. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing your own worth. When you know what you stand for and what you deserve, it becomes easier to articulate those limits without hesitation. For instance, if someone continually interrupts or dismisses your ideas, you can assertively say, I'd like to finish my thought before we move on. This isn't about attacking the other person, but rather affirming your right to be heard. Clarity is essential when setting boundaries. Vague statements like, don't be rude, may leave room for interpretation, while specific, actionable language is more effective. If someone habitually speaks to you disrespectfully, a clear response might be, I won't continue this conversation if the tone remains disrespectful. Let's address this calmly. By being specific, you not only communicate your expectations, but also create a framework for the other person to adjust their behavior. It's also important to remain calm when asserting your boundaries. Anger or frustration may dilute your message, while a composed demeanor underscores your confidence. Denzel Washington's teachings remind us that our energy plays a role in shaping interactions. When you set a boundary from a place of calm empowerment, you're more likely to influence the other person positively or at least prevent further escalation. Sometimes setting boundaries requires follow-through. If someone continues to disrespect your limits despite your clear communication, it may be necessary to disengage or create distance. This isn't about holding grudges, but about prioritizing your well-being. Walking away from toxic situations is an act of self-care and reinforces that you take your boundaries seriously. Establishing and maintaining boundaries is an ongoing practice that reflects your commitment to self-respect. When you assert your limits with clarity and composure, you protect your peace while setting an example of self-assurance that can inspire others to treat you and themselves with greater respect. When faced with disrespect, one of the most transformative responses is to cultivate compassion. While it may feel counterintuitive to approach someone's unkind or dismissive behavior with understanding, compassion has the power to shift the energy of the interaction and protect your peace. Disrespect often stems from unresolved pain, insecurity, or frustration within the other person. Recognizing this allows you to approach the situation from a place of empathy rather than defensiveness. End quote. Compassion begins with the understanding that people are products of their experiences. A disrespectful tone or harsh words might be the result of stress, fear, or a lack of emotional awareness. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it reframes the way you perceive it. Instead of seeing their actions as a personal attack, you start to see them as a reflection of their inner struggles. For instance, someone who constantly criticizes others might be battling self-doubt or seeking validation in unhealthy ways. Denzel Washington often emphasizes the power of the heart and the role of elevated emotions in transforming our lives. By tapping into feelings of care and understanding, you not only shift your own state of being, but also influence the energy of those around you. When you respond to disrespect with kindness or patience, you create an opportunity to de-escalate tension and encourage a more positive interaction. Compassion also protects you from the cycle of negativity. Meeting disrespect with anger or frustration often leads to a chain reaction of conflict, leaving both parties feeling drained and unresolved. On the other hand, choosing compassion allows you to rise above the situation, maintaining your emotional balance and preventing others from pulling you into their storm. This approach doesn't mean you tolerate harmful behavior or fail to set boundaries. You can still address the issue assertively while holding space for empathy. For example, you might say, "I understand you're upset, but I would appreciate it if we could talk calmly." This response acknowledges the other person's feelings while asserting your need for respect, creating a foundation for healthier communication. Ultimately, compassion is a choice that reflects your strength and emotional intelligence. By choosing to see beyond the surface of disrespect, you not only protect your energy, but also contribute to creating a more understanding and harmonious environment. Experiencing disrespect can be deeply unsettling, but within every challenge lies an opportunity for growth. Instead of dwelling on the hurt or frustration, consider how the experience can serve as a catalyst for self-reflection and personal development. When you shift your perspective, even the most challenging encounters can become valuable lessons that strengthen your character and emotional resilience. Disrespect often triggers feelings of anger, sadness, or insecurity. While these emotions are natural, they also provide insight into areas where you can grow. For instance, if someone's harsh words make you feel undervalued, it's an opportunity to explore your sense of self-worth. Are you relying on external validation to feel confident? Or is this a chance to affirm your value independently of others' opinions? By turning your attention inward, you can identify the underlying beliefs or patterns that the situation has highlighted and work toward healing and strengthening them. Denzel Washington often emphasizes the importance of breaking free from habitual reactions and creating new pathways of thought and behavior. When faced with disrespect, reflect on how you typically respond. Do you react defensively, withdraw, or let it fester? Instead, consider how you can consciously respond in a way that aligns with your higher self. This might mean practicing patience, asserting boundaries with kindness, or simply letting go of the need to control how others perceive you. Every time you choose a more empowered response, you rewire your brain to handle future challenges with greater ease and grace. Disrespect can also teach you about forgiveness, not for the sake of condoning the behavior, but for liberating yourself from the emotional weight it carries. Holding on to resentment only keeps you tethered to the negativity of the interaction. By choosing forgiveness, you free yourself to focus on your growth and well-being. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. It's a gift you give to yourself to move forward without bitterness. Finally, consider how you can use the experience to strengthen your commitment to living in alignment with your values. Whether it's maintaining your composure, showing empathy, or showing firm in your boundaries, every encounter with disrespect is an opportunity to practice embodying the person you aspire to be. By turning these challenges into growth, you transform not only your relationship with others, but also your relationship with yourself, paving the way for a more empowered and peaceful life.